Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama, everybody who's watching us. Oh my gosh, on a Tuesday. Yes, it is the second day of the year. The sun did come up. We are still rocking and rolling on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. You guys can follow us at Joe Gaither6 for all your social media needs. Comment, questions, send me all your queries and complaints right there to Joe Gaither6 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, wherever that you like to use social media. You can always find the show at BamaCentral, at YouTube, at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon as well. We're going to hopefully have a lot of fun. Is there any way to have any fun after what we experienced last night? Oh my gosh, what a brutal result. The Alabama Crimson Tide losing 27-20. And as always, you are more than welcome to comment on the show. We'll put them up on the audio side, on the visual side. If you comment on the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever you want, however you want to interact with the Joe Gaither Show, we are very, very happy. Let's have a cathartic episode, huh? Let's figure out what the hell happened last night in Pasadena, California. Obviously, you guys aren't living under a rock. Alabama and Texas both losing in the college football playoff semifinals. And I was just out at the Malmore Center watching the players come back from California. They all had the sad look on their face, as can be expected. Absolutely. I'm putting up that video right now on my own Twitter as it is loading. So that should be popping up here pretty soon, watching those guys after they got off the bus. But just tough stuff, man. Okay, so if you went back to any part of the show in the last couple of weeks, you'd heard me talk about how I felt like Michigan was kind of good, and I felt like it was hard to read Michigan because of the quarterback play and offensive play that they went up against this year. Now, that still remains true. They didn't play a whole lot of professional quarterbacks. They didn't play a ton of professional wide receivers, even though Marvin Harrison Jr. is definitely the number one wide receiver coming out of the draft. They played him, but they didn't play a whole lot of elite skill players, elite skill receivers, elite quarterbacks. And did that really change yesterday? I guess, maybe we have to be honest with ourselves and say that it did not really inherently change yesterday. I know that a lot of the Alabama fans love ourselves some Isaiah Bond, love ourselves some Jermaine Burton, and really, we like Kobe Prentice, we like Kamari Black, we like we like Jace McClellan. We all fallen in love with Jalen Milroe, with what he has been this season as far as how quality his character has been. But I don't know if the Michigan had to face an inherently challenging test from a skill position standpoint. Now, here's the deal with Michigan last night. They beat Alabama 27-20 in the Rose Bowl. And look, it was an epic game. And everybody, there are lots of things to talk about from this game. So I'm just going to riff for a while. I do have some notes, but if this is a little incoherent or if we bounce from topic to topic, I apologize. We're going to do our best to cover the game, and we may not get to it all today on a Tuesday. Look, let's get this out of the way. Michigan out-physicaled Alabama yesterday in Pasadena. They were more physical up front, offensively and defensively, I thought. Definitely defensively. Offensively, maybe a little bit of a wash there, but definitely defensively. Sacking Jalen Milroe 6 times. And like a lot of people want to, you're seeing a lot of social media moves. You're seeing a lot of posts about Jalen Milroe's passing yards and how few he had. What was it, 116? Is that what I have for my total? Yeah, 16 of 23 for 116 passing yards. And you're seeing a lot of people throw up that 116 right next to Brock Glenn's, the Florida State third-string quarterback, right next to Brock Glenn's passing output. I don't know that that's inherently fair. Let's just say this. Michigan's defensive line devoured, swallowed, engulfed the Alabama offensive line. The Alabama offensive line looked like it had looked in the first 3 weeks of the season, really in the first 6 weeks of the season. The problems that Alabama dealt with throughout the year reared their ugly head yesterday in Pasadena. And it's just as simple as that. The offensive line didn't really protect Jalen Milroe, and because of that, the clock is moving so much faster. And was he able to find wide open receivers? Absolutely not. Were the receivers able to break open? No, absolutely not. No, a lot of attention went to Burton and Bond and went to the receivers. Let's see. None of the receivers had a good game at all. Burton with 4 catches, Bond with 4 catches, C.J. Dupree, McClellan with 2, and then 1 each for Kobe Prentice, Amari Niblack, Jam Miller, and Kendrick Law. The passing game was basically a non-factor, and it was all due to, I think, the Michigan front seven. The Michigan front seven was all over Alabama's rear end all day long. Let's see. You ended up with 2 sacks for Braden McGregor. You ended up with a sack for Derek Moore, a sack for Chris Jenkins. You had a sack for Mason Graham. You ended up with 2 tackles for loss for Josiah Stewart. We'll get to him in just a bit. You had Michael Barrett as well. Look, they were all over the place, and not even, Junior Colson didn't get a tackle for a loss or a sack, but he was all over the place for 10 tackles as well. And Michigan's defense was the best defense that Alabama has played all year long, easily. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to Texas, because Texas was a real good defense. Yes, they were. And Georgia, they were a pretty good defense as well. But really, the best defense that Alabama played all year long was Michigan. And I guess it took a little bit of time for that to reflect itself in the game. You look in the game, Alabama, or you see Michigan goes 3 and out. They punt. Alabama goes, 3 and out. They punt. And then Michigan muffs their next punt. And Alabama takes advantage of a short field. Outside of your short field, what did Alabama really do offensively? Justice Haynes ran the ball pretty well. Jace McClellan ran the ball pretty well. I think that Jace McClellan really underrated Nick Saban running back. Is he going to go down in history as the best? Absolutely not. He probably won't even be top 5, but underrated Nick Saban running back. Broke off the nice 38-yard touchdown run, juking out the safety. And from there, I thought, probably you thought as well, that Alabama was going to start rolling. Alabama was going to start rolling because they had gotten after J.J. McCarthy a couple of times. They had shut down Blake Corum's run a couple of times early in the game, and then pretty much cut through Michigan like a hot knife through butter. But from there, at 7-0, you basically put on one of the best college football playoff games you've ever seen. Now, a lot of people want to point back to, it was too defensive. I'm sure it wasn't the Oklahoma-Georgia Rose Bowl from 2019. It wasn't that, or 2017, where it was back and forth 50-something to 48. It was crazy, but it was an overtime game that felt like a heavyweight boxing affair. That felt like a fight. That felt like, goodness gracious, at any second, whoever's about to make a mistake, make a mistake, it's really going to cost them. And it ended up costing Alabama. Really, it's difficult for me to dissect, especially like the whys, because it kind of just happened out of nowhere. Alabama was up 17-13, and then they got up 20-13. 2 massive kicks for Will Reichert, both right at 52 yards. Will Reichert sent him out the right way. The NCAA's all-time leading scorer, puts you up by 7. And then from there, where's my scoring drive? Okay, from there you have look, the biggest problem, 8 plays, 75 yards. 8 plays, 75 yards in the fourth quarter in literally, in 3 minutes. In 3 minutes, Michigan scores with 90 seconds left. And from there, did that really steal Alabama's mojo? Did it really steal Alabama's soul? Kind of so. Look, major vibes on the on the last drive from the end of the game against Texas A&M, the end of the half against LSU, just little different parts in this. At the end of the game against Arkansas, the end of the half against Tennessee as well. Like the end of these halves, the end of some of these games, Alabama didn't necessarily end up playing its best football. And we saw it come back and bite Alabama against Texas. They've been losing by 10, basically losing the fourth quarter to Texas. You set Texas up on the goal line after an interception, and they punch it in, and you never really could get anything back. Just really, really difficult to see this Alabama defense that I thought was the strong part of the defense, or was the strong part of the team, really let Michigan back in the game. With 5 minutes left, you're up seven. You think, okay, the defense has been holding them down pretty much consistently throughout the game. Man. But you got to give Jim Harbaugh a lot of credit. 4th and 2 from their own 33-yard line. J.J. McCarthy passes it wide open to Blake Corum. And then not only that, you have a 29-yard pass to Roman Wilson right over the hands of Malachi Moore after Deontay Lawson tipped the ball. Like, this was a drive where everything went right for Michigan. And sometimes that's just what happens in football. You want to sit here and talk about, Alabama didn't deserve to be in. They showed everybody that they weren't a good team. Look, you took the number 1 team into overtime. You pushed them into overtime. And yeah, they've been number 1 pretty much all season long. I'm sorry that a 7-point game wasn't entertaining enough for you. I'm sorry that the quarterback play really wasn't good enough for you. And it wasn't. Jalen Milroe should have played better. Should have played better. It could have played better. But Michigan's defensive plan was very, very, very strong. And you got to give them a lot of credit. First things that I noticed from Jesse Minter. Jesse Minter saw what all the SEC defenses did to Alabama throughout the year and said, we are not going to spy Jalen Milroe. We're going to rush 4. We're going to rush 5. We're going to rush 6. And they rushed pretty consistently throughout the game. And we're not just going to rush, one-on-one block. We're going to twist. We're going to in tackle stunts. We're going to tackle in stunts. We're going to bring linebackers from the C gap into the A gap. We're going to wrap around and run a lot of stunts. And they confused the Alabama offensive line. They didn't leave Junior Colson, or they didn't leave Michael Barrett out there as a spy just to sit out in no man's land and guard nothing, guard grass, like Georgia did, like Auburn did, like LSU did, like a lot of these teams did, like Ole Miss did as well. Ole Miss rushed 3, dropped 8, pretty much the whole game, and Jalen Milroe just death by 1,000 cuts for the Alabama offense. That's not what Michigan did. Michigan, what they did, they said, we have a great front seven. We have an aggressive front seven. We don't want to let this quarterback out of the pocket to hurt us. Now, Jalen Milroe did have a couple decent runs. What was it? What did he end up rushing for my final total? 63 yards on 20 carries. So, I mean, he tried. He tried. So, but Michigan basically sent the house, but sent the entire front most of the night. And Seth McLaughlin and Caden Proctor really, and sorry, J.C. Latham, you're probably going to be a first-round draft pick, but J.C. Latham, they didn't hold up. The best players for Alabama's offensive line were the 2 guards, Tyler Booker and Jaden Roberts. Jaden Roberts obviously standing head and shoulders above everyone, not allowing a quarterback pressure, not allowing a sack. And really, Jaden Roberts, you deserve so much better, especially off that final play. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But look, you just got manhandled up front. Jesse Minter said, we are going to come after you. We think we're better than your offensive line. And they were. We think we're better than your offensive line, and we will leave Bond and Burton out on the outside with Sainstrill and the rest of them, and you're just not going to have enough time to make a play. And that's exactly kind of what happened throughout the night. And even when Jalen Milroe did have a little bit more time, I think the consistent pressure off the edge and through the middle really sped his clock up immensely. And, I do think that he thought that Texas's defense probably was the best defense he had seen to that point. Georgia. I really liked the game plan that Tommy Rees had against Georgia. Just wasn't able to execute really anything offensively up front, especially for the Alabama offense. And that's why Alabama is going to be sitting at home next Monday night. And it's about to be a lot of times of transition, a big transition into the offseason, and we'll see what ends up happening. Okay, so big start, down late. Blake Corum. All right, look, I got to give Blake Corum a lot of credit. You got to give Blake Corum a lot of credit. I was here last week saying that I don't know how good he was, whether it was a product of the Michigan offensive line. But no, Blake Corum is a bleeping beast. Blake Corum, 19 carries, 83 yards, and a touchdown. And then he also had 2 receptions, 35 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, you can see that yards per carry is only right at 4, and that's a little low for college. But Blake Corum was an absolute stud. He ran through arm tackles. Was he the best running back Alabama played this year? I know Quinshon Judkins wasn't quite healthy when Alabama played Ole Miss. Yeah, I think Blake Corum played the best running back game. We'll say that the best running back game that Alabama faced this year out of a tailback. He was giving it to Alabama late, and I thought that really he was instrumental. Look, this game was about imposing your will over the other team. And I think that Alabama a little bit was like, okay, we're up 20 to 13 with 4 minutes left. We have won the fourth quarter. Hey, at that point, Alabama was up 10-0 in the fourth quarter. We have won the fourth quarter. Oh, we're going to cruise to victory, and we're going to Houston next week. But no, Michigan's never say die at it. You got to give Michigan a lot of credit. Give Jim Harbaugh, even though he's a weirdo. Yes, he is a weirdo. You got to give Michigan a lot of credit. No, they've overcome a lot of adversities. A lot of it is self-inflicted this year with the sign stealing scandal and with the recruiting violations that's kind of gone on. But they have shut out all the noise. They shut out all the noise. They took down Big Bad Bama. They said, oh, we're 0-2 in the college football playoff. They were staring 0-3 right in the face. And said, no, we're not going to die yet. We're not going down. You got to just give Michigan a lot of credit. And even does it suck that Alabama lost? Absolutely. Sure. It does. But really, come on. Capsule this whole thing, this 14 game season, right? 14 games, you go 12-2. I know you're seeing a lot of Georgia fans. Oh, well, we're still 13-1, so we had a better year than you. Just shut the bleep up, Georgia fans. Shut up. Go back and enjoy your Orange Bowl exhibition trophy and your SEC East title. We'll polish our SEC championship ring, and we'll see y'all in September. How about that? But really, I mean, it was a good year. It was a good year for Alabama. Just came up short when you played some elite competition late in the year. Two more players that I want to talk about before we keep rolling on some ancillary and keep it rolling on a Tuesday. Some thoughts here about the Rose Bowl. We're hanging out on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral, BamaCentral.com. Our friends Blake Byler, Austin Hannon, and Katie Wyndham are traveling back from Pasadena. We really appreciate their coverage of the Rose Bowl that you can read online at BamaCentral.com. I want to talk about Justice Haynes a little bit because I just had a feeling all year long that Nick Saban was saving him until the right time, saving him until we needed him. Break glass in case of emergency. And that's exactly what you did yesterday. But, Coach, it was working. What the hell, man? I know we trust Jace McClellan. I get that. And I know you trust Jalen Milroe. I get that too. But Justice Haynes, 4 carries, 31 yards. Come on, 4 touches, 31 yards. And we're just going to not go back to the young man. He hasn't really taken a whole big pounding all year long. He's very fresh. You're only going to give him 4 carries? I mean, he's basically ripping off 5-6 yards a pop, officially 7.8 a pop. But one of them came on, an 11-yard run? Yeah, so he's ripping off, and you go away from him? Oh, gosh. That was a really frustrating aspect of the game for me was because I thought, hey, look, I like Tommy Rees. I think Tommy Rees had a really, really good year as the Alabama offensive coordinator. And I know that it wasn't all on Tommy Rees deciding what personnel is in and out. But I just thought that Justice Haynes, you left a pretty valuable weapon on the sidelines. And look, this goes into something that Coach Saban is a bit guilty of, has been guilty of, especially more so over the last 5 years than he was over the first 10 years. The last 5 years, Coach has gotten really loyal to seniors like Chris Owens, like Seth McLaughlin, like Jason McClellan. He got really loyal to guys like Damian Harris when a guy like Najee Harris is right behind you. You got really loyal to a guy like Jalen Hurts when a guy like Tua Tagovailoa is right behind you. He's been really, really loyal. And now that I'm speaking this out loud, I guess it was one time Jalen Moody as well, but there wasn't anybody really behind Jalen Moody that really. Josh McMillan as well gave Josh McMillan a big chance. I just got done talking about how I think that Jace McClellan is an underrated Alabama running back, and I do. But Roydell Williams, where the hell? I mean, through all 13 games, I get it. You've made it through the 13 games. You've won, your SEC champions. You're in the playoff. But now you're in the playoff facing the best defense that you've faced all year. And it's taken you about a half or so to figure out, oh, this defense is really good. This guy's not working. This guy's having trouble. And you throw Justice Haynes out there. And you say, let's just see what the freshman's got. And he has some success. Now, yes, Alabama continued to move the football fairly okay. Move the football all right without him once they pulled it back. But, dude, leave him in the game and use the hammer. If you have the hammer, you got to use it. Justice Haynes, his explosiveness through the hole. Look, he's going to be a guy that Alabama fans are in love with. He's going to be the next dude at running back. He's going to probably be in the Mark Henry, Derrick Henry, Najee Harris class. The Trent Richardson class. He might get in that Eddie Lacy class. But goodness gracious, you're just going to, 4 carries, 30 yards, we've seen enough. We're just going to go back to the senior. We're just going to go back to Jace McClellan. And Jace is fine. Jace was fine. Absolutely. But I felt like each had a weapon. We're going to get it out. Oh, this is working well. Let's just put that back on the shelf and save it for next year. I'm sorry, Coach Saban. Look, you are infallible. You are the GOAT. You are the greatest college football coach of all time. But this little peon right here, I wasn't quite thrilled with that decision. I was hoping that we would see a little bit more Justice Haynes, especially after he started to get going. He was just starting is what it felt like. It felt like he was just revving up his engine, and you pulled him off the field. All right, so circling this all together, Michigan's defensive line, Alabama's offensive line, the just kind of Alabama losing that battle. Why? Why did it happen? Why did Alabama just go up against a better front seven? That's part of it. Absolutely, it's part of it. Was Alabama communication-wise, were they great up front? No, they were not really great up front. A lot of several of the sacks, JC had 2 guys go right at him. He didn't know which one to block. Same thing that happened with Caden Proctor. You had mismatches all over the line. You had missed assignments, missed twists, you weren't passing off blocks very well, and the pocket to kind of put the cherry on top, the pocket was collapsing even when they were rushing 4. Why? Well, big storyline that came out of these 3 weeks. That came out of these 3 weeks leading up to Rose Bowl prep was last week. Caden Proctor, you all know, freshman left tackle, SEC all freshman left tackle. You all know the struggles that he's had this year, the growth that he's had this year. He has had legitimate growth, but he obviously would be foolish to not acknowledge the struggles as well. Well, last week in practice, Caden Proctor tore a ligament in his foot. Yeah, we'll just let that sit right there and say it again. Caden Proctor last week in practice tore a ligament in his foot. Okay, and so with that being said, you sucked Elijah Pritchett back out of the transfer portal and said, hey, man, you are not going anywhere. And Elijah Pritchett got a lot of the 1 reps these past couple of weeks. They were rotating in and out through the week, but Caden Proctor ended up playing for Alabama. Was that a good or bad decision? Look, I am not educated enough to say. I am not Eric Wolford. I'm not educated enough to say how healthy Caden Proctor was. That's Jeff Allen's job, the head trainer. If Jeff Allen signed off on him playing, then he was healthy enough to play. I am fully confident in that. Now, does that mean he was 100%? No, it doesn't. Should Alabama have used Elijah Pritchett instead? Used a fully healthy player instead? Maybe. But we saw Elijah Pritchett struggle as well this year. Did that have something to do with the pressure that Jalen Milroe was under all night long? I would say some, certainly. I would definitely say some. But I don't want to take any credit away from the Michigan defensive line. That defensive front was bleeping nasty. It was the nastiest defensive front that Alabama has played all year long. Rivals, Georgia and Texas are in their category, but not necessarily. I mean, Michael Williams for Georgia, pretty scary player, but outside of that, who'd you have? Not really anybody there. And then you had a pretty nice little linebacker, edge rusher linebacker for Texas. They had a good front interior defensive lineman. But no, Michigan's defense was incredible. Give them a lot of credit. All right. So with all that being said, what do we want to go to next? Because I've still got like a bunch of just jumbled up blah 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 thoughts from this game. Let's talk about overtime. Let's talk about the fourth down play. Let's talk about really where Alabama was left. And let's use some visual aids. If you are watching on YouTube, you'll start to see some screenshots, YouTube, Facebook, and or Twitter. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon, I will do my best to describe these things for you. Let's talk about the last play because so many people, Tommy Rees, you're an idiot. Tommy Rees, you're the worst. Tommy Rees, you should be fired. Now, that comes with the territory. It comes with the territory of being the Alabama offensive coordinator. Look, anytime Bill O'Brien didn't pick up a first down, it was fire Bill O'Brien. Same thing with Pete Golding and Kirby Smart and Jeremy Pruitt on the defensive side of the ball. Oh, my gosh, they gave up a first down. Let's fire them. So quick for Alabama fans to expect perfection and not get it. But Tommy Rees called a pretty good game plan-ish, considering what he was dealing with on the defensive side of the football, considering the lack of production that he was really getting in the pass protection game. A whole lot of nothing in the pass protection game. And really, this might surprise you, but as you look at the stats, Alabama outrushed Michigan 172 to 130. Let's see. Where's my minus sack yardage? Sack yardage. It says, sack adjusted rushing yards. Look, if Alabama didn't get sacked 6 times, 221 yards on the ground, 221 rushing yards. You only gave up 132. Now that's a lot for Alabama standpoints from the Alabama field, but no, Michigan ran the ball pretty well. Alabama ran it better. 221 yards that Tommy Rees orchestrated in the running game with Jalen Milroe, Jace McClellan, and Justice Haynes. Pretty much without a passing game. Pretty much without any sort of pass protection. Was Jalen Milroe at fault for some of that? Certainly. Absolutely. Could Tommy Rees have called a better quick game? Yes, he could have. Absolutely. But I think Tommy Rees had a pretty good little game plan for the evening. But really all the focus goes down to the last play. Why do you do this? Why do you just run quarterback draw? Why do you run quarterback draw on the goal line? Oh, of course they knew quarterback run was going to come. Oh, all right. So we got several screenshots that we're going to look at here on the Twitter machine. We're starting with kind of the wide shot, and it has a little bit of drawing on it just because it's just formational speaking. Look, Alabama is in 11 personnel, so you've got 11 personnel. So you got Robbie Oots playing tight end. You got Jace McClellan. Yeah, is it McClellan? Yes, it's McClellan out of the backfield, and basically you've got Isaiah Bond, Kendrick Law, and Jermaine Burton as your receivers. All right, so it's basically a mixture. There's a debate. First, it's not quarterback draw. We know that it's not quarterback draw because nobody pass sets. None of the linemen pass set. Every single one of them fire off the ball. So let's start right there. Every single one of them fire off the ball, as you can see in the screenshot above. No one is pass setting. Everyone's firing off the ball. Jaden Roberts is pulling from his right guard position, and he's leading around the left end. Basically, Seth McLaughlin is one-on-one blocking. Proctor and Brooker are down blocking while Proctor is moving up to the linebacker, and Dupree is trying to seal this edge. Now, from the back end, there's my back end right there. From the back end, it's blocked okay, except for 2 factors: Dupree on one edge and J.C. Latham on the other end. Look, let's just say that the snap was fine. And here's a screenshot of the snap being down at Jalen Milroe's ankles. The snap is down at Jalen Milroe's ankles. And this is one aspect of the game that, golly, will just drive you crazy. We've seen this all year long. We've seen this 13 games. 13 games we've seen this, Coach Saban. And look, Coach, you're the greatest. We've said this before. No one's going to question your football acumen and your football IQ. You have no more football than I will ever learn. But, Coach, what are we doing? What's Alabama doing? What are you doing as a coach? What is Eric Wolford, your offensive line coach, doing all season long? Look, I can understand you're getting your butt kicked up front because the other team is just bigger, stronger, faster, more aggressive. Those sorts of things happen in football games and one-on-one matchups. They do. You got to give the other man some credit. The Michigan men are on scholarship as well, and they earned it. But goodness gracious, Coach, you've talked for the last 3 years about mental errors, but for the last 3 years about unforced errors, for the last 3 years about penalties, about shooting yourself in the foot. But you're going to put up with all your look. The team was more disciplined this year. The team did not have as many pre-snap penalties this year. The team did better in the penalty category this season. They did. But goodness gracious, how in the world, Coach Saban, I love you. I respect you. I want to learn from you just as from a football standpoint and from a life standpoint. But Coach, how can you put up with an issue that has hamstrung your offense 13 games? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And look, Seth McLaughlin, I know he works hard. I know that Seth has had a really hard day today. And I know that Seth has turned a lot of his social medias to private. And I don't encourage anyone to get into Seth's comments unless they are positive, uplifting comments. Hey, man, roll tide. Thanks for your work. Yada, yada, yada. Keep your head up. Stay out of that man's comments. Look, there's nobody that feels worse about it than Seth McLaughlin. I'm very confident of that. But Coach, where are we in the offensive line room? When you cannot develop a center who can snap the bleep in football. We have seen the snapping issue since Middle Tennessee. Since September, 4th? September 4th, we've seen a snapping issue. We saw it against Texas. We saw it against Georgia a couple of different times. We saw it against LSU a couple of different times. We saw it against Mississippi State. Look, the very first Jalen Milroe touchdown run of the season was a snap into his ankles. Rolled snap back to the backfield. Jalen picks it up. He scrambles, and he gets into the end zone against Middle Tennessee State. I remember it like yesterday. It was right in front of me. It was a great play. It was an amazing play. But just snap the damn ball right into his ankles. And you've been doing it all year long. And, Coach, I know that offensive line is a really, really tough position to develop. Probably the toughest position to develop on the field outside of quarterback. Maybe tougher than quarterback. You might have an argument there. But Seth, and I know Seth works hard, and I know he bleeds Alabama. I know he's given his life and his life and his time and all kinds. He's given everything to the Crimson Tide, to this program. And I never really want to call for jobs. But, Coach, why did we get to this point? I know backup center is Darian Dalcourt. All right, so you got to look at what your other options are. Backup center, Darian Dalcourt. Darian Dalcourt can't block worth a crap. Darian Dalcourt has no sand in his rear end. Okay, so you're not throwing Darian Dalcourt back out there. You tried all year long to replace him with T.J. Ferguson and Jaden Roberts. So you're not throwing Darian Dalcourt back out there just to get himself pushed right back into Jalen Milroe's lap. Okay, all right. Well, next option is little James Brockermeyer. James Brockermeyer. Is he Seth McLaughlin light? Is he just really? I mean, Brockermeyer, he's one of the academics superstars. He's academic All-American, academic All-SEC, and great on you. We love smart football players, but undersized, maybe undermanned along the offensive line. He ain't Tommy Brockermeyer, who transferred out to TCU. All right, so you're not throwing James Brockermeyer out there. What about T.J. Ferguson? What happened to T.J. Ferguson? I know T.J. Ferguson played some at left and right guard this season and ultimately had an ankle injury. What was that, against USF? Middle Tennessee, Mississippi State. He had an ankle injury third, fourth week of the season, and he missed a couple of weeks, and we never seen him again. Coach, look, I'm not going to question you as far as you see everything that happens on the practice field, and if the other four centers were just as bad, then goodness gracious, that's a huge problem. Look, the last play, it could have worked. It should have worked. The last play, you snap the ball into Jalen Milroe's ankles and you slow everything up. You junk everything up. Should the last play have worked? Would it have worked? I think so. And let's look at it. All right, so back out here from the top, you send the running back into motion. And there's debate. Is this an RPO? Is this quarterback power? It's not a quarterback draw, period. I mean, if you think it's quarterback draw, you can go ahead and hit X and get off the channel. It's not quarterback draw. You can debate either way, and I think that it's pretty fair. You look through here and you say, all right, you see the option here. You see the run past option, but you also see it designed as quarterback power. What would it have looked like if the snap had been right to Jalen Milroe's belly button, right to his sternum? Would he have turned and dumped it to Roydell Williams? I don't think so. I think Jalen was going to take that ball the entire time. I think Jalen was going to win or lose with the ball in his hands the entire time. But let's say the snap isn't fair. Let's say the snap is right. The snap's right into his sternum, nice and soft, easy catch. Let's say I want to pass it to the running back. You have Kendrick Law on the bottom. You have Isaiah Bond in the slot. Your two best blocking wide receivers, both of them have the defensive backs out-leveraged. Now, you can argue, and absolutely, it is up for discussion. Maybe the defensive backs whip their man on the block. And they absolutely might. But as far as a leverage standpoint, they are out-leveraged. They are blocked. The man-to-man, who's guarding the running back out of the backfield, is behind the running back already because of miscommunication to both inside linebackers right prior to snap, look at each other, then one goes out goes out to cover Roydell Williams. So he's already 3 steps behind Roydell Williams. And then additionally, let's say you throw it out to him. I couldn't tell if it's Williams or McClellan right here. Just based off this screenshot. Let me look at something else real quick. Let me see my man. Let me see my man. One of my tweets that I put up to see who it was. Yeah, it's Roydell Williams. It's 5. It's 5. It's not. It's not 2. So yeah. Okay. He's got to come through all the trash. The inside linebacker who's guarding Roydell Williams. You got to come through all the trash. You got to fight over the top, and basically it's Roydell Williams at the pylon with his inside linebacker. Do you like your odds there? I do. All right, so let's say the pass is all window dressing. It's all window dressing. It's supposed to be run all the way. It's supposed to be quarterback power all the way. There's no, it was called RPO, but we've told you, Jalen Milroe, we're taking out the PO. It is a run. It is a run. All right, so let's see it. All right, the snap is low. We've already discussed the snap. Terrible, awful. And then you look at the blocking. Michigan, as we've talked about it from at the very beginning, the best front seven Alabama's faced this season. The best front seven Alabama's faced this season, and they whipped Alabama's ass on the biggest play of the year. Seriously. No, I mean, it is what it is. It just is what it is. You look at Josiah Stewart off the top side, number 5. That's the right-hand side if you're watching us on the screen. Josiah Stewart comes in and basically blows J.C. Latham up. J.C. Latham, your first-round offensive tackle. Your first-round offensive tackle who calls himself the Trench King is too high. He hinges. He's too high. He gets blown up right into Jalen Milroe. And you see our man Jaden Roberts coming around from the right guard to the left side. He's coming free. He's going to road grade and clear the hole. But what's the big problem? CJ Dupree on the left side is getting his butt eaten up as well. So you got both ends eaten up, pinching hard, eating up both the ends. And look at this look at this screenshot right there. Right there is what I have. You don't have a Michigan man making the tackle on Jalen Milroe. You have Jalen Milroe stepping on the back of J.C. Latham. And falling. Why? Because he's getting his butt blown up. This is your best offensive lineman. This is the offensive lineman that you sent to SEC Media Days. This is your it wasn't named a permanent team captain, but this is one of your leaders of your team. He goes up once a week and talks to the media. JC, where were you? Biggest play of the game. And your butt is getting blown back 4 yards in the backfield, and you are tripping up Jalen Milroe. Yeah, just unbelievable. Unbelievable execution from the offensive line. The offensive line you've got one play. It's 4th and goal. It's an untimed down. That's what I don't understand. It's an untimed down. It's 4th and goal. So there's nothing left. If you don't get in the end zone, it's over. There's nothing left. And that is the effort that you receive. Look at this from the back end. J.C. Latham is 3 yards in the backfield. getting blown up. Just really, really discouraging to see from the Alabama. And so, what does Jalen Milroe have a lane right here? Sure, he does. If JC the right hand on the right side, 65 on the right side, is not getting pushed back into him, goodness gracious, it's flabbergasting. It's flabbergasting, and you want to give Josiah Stewart a lot of credit because that is a hero play. That is I am winning this game for Michigan. I know you're the tackle. You're the number one. You're probably going to be a first-round draft pick. I am about to whip your butt and tackle your quarterback. All the Michigan players said after the game, we all thought Jalen Milroe was going to run the ball. We all thought Jalen Milroe was going to have a quarterback run. We all thought he was going to end the game with the ball in his hands. So, all right, it's fine. They know it's coming. And that's fine. I thought it was a good play call. It's a good play call because if it's executed right, if JC doesn't get blown up 3 yards in the backfield, let's say he just stalemates. A stalemate would give this left-hand action. You come right at the middle a little bit, and then you follow your man, Jaden Roberts, right around the left-hand side, and you walk into the end zone. It's wide open. Here's another good angle right here. If you're looking at it on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, you're looking at it. Yes, you see number 0, the Michigan defensive line. He has outrun the play. He has overrun Jalen Milroe. He is too deep in the backfield. But why does he get in on the tackle? Because Jalen Milroe is getting bumped by his own tackle on the other side. It's flabbergasting. And Dupree is getting whipped as well. I wish I had the Michigan number who's whipping Dupree as well on the left side. You can see it pretty well in the screenshot I just put up. Dupree is getting whipped as well. And honestly, it's interior holding. It's not going to get called because it's the last play of the game. But he has his Michigan man wrapped up. Was it a good play call? I think it's a good play call. I think Tommy Rees is a really good play caller. Was it RPO? Was it quarterback power? I think that it's a bit of both. I think it was called for the RPO, but I think they got in the huddle. They called timeout twice. Michigan first and Alabama next. I think once they got in the huddle, they said, "This is what we're running. Yes, it's an RPO look, but we're going to run a down ball." Jaden Roberts coming around the edge and cleared the way for Jalen Milroe. You got your best. Honestly, sorry, Tyler Booker. I do think Jaden Roberts is your best offensive lineman. He had his best game. He's played as well as anyone has since he came in. I guess that was the Texas A&M game, middle of the year. Just really, really disappointing. Really disappointing to have that be the end of the year for Alabama. Why? Because of everything that you heard in the summer. The offensive line, there's some good guys, and they're some fun guys to talk to, and you pull for them, because you get to know people. But goodness gracious, I talked a lot of mess about reestablishing the Bama factor, winning the line of scrimmage, establishing their will. I talked a lot of mess to get their butt kicks in the fourth quarter and in overtime. I mean, Michigan said, we know you're running the ball, and we don't care if you have us out-leveraged. We're just going to whip your butt up front. And that's exactly what they did. JC got whipped up front. Whipped. And you think that's your best player? And okay, if you can't count on your best player, in the best moment, in the biggest moment, in the moment to win or lose the game, I mean, you can talk about Jalen Milroe being your best player. You can talk about Tyler Booker. It doesn't matter. Pick whoever your best player is, whether it's the right tackle who's going to get drafted in the first round. If he can't win on a pivotal play, then I'm sorry, Alabama. Maybe you don't deserve to win the college football semifinal. And thus, Michigan wins. Michigan wins. Congratulations. Just send them off. They're going to Houston, and it's heartbreak for Alabama. Heartbreak. You flip, and that's kind of it is what it is. The sun came up the next day. The players came back and played. The players flew back today. You can see some of my video right there on Twitter. Let me see if it's loaded. It should have loaded by now. Maybe it didn't. But on Twitter, you can see my video from the players returning to the Malmore Center about oh, look, and this is why I waited. This is why I waited to do my show later in the day. Your first transfer portal lead. This is why I wanted to do the show early, but I thought you better wait because you're going to get some transfer portal news. The first transfer portal news from Alabama comes in the form of Shaz Preston. Shaz Preston enters the transfer portal. He's going to have 3 years left of eligibility. He's in the 2022 recruiting class, wide receiver, hasn't really played here at the Capstone. And yeah, Alabama, you've got 5 days to figure out the transfer portal, to figure out what you're going to do, to figure out who's staying, who's going, what's going to happen. Shaz Preston becomes the next Alabama. Now you've got 6 Alabama guys in the portal. 2 of them or 3 of them have homes already. Shaz Preston, we wish you good luck, and sayonara, young man. We'll see what ends up happening. But Alabama's going to have some guys leave in the next couple of days. You're going to have some guys leave in the transfer portal to get under the 85 scholarship limit. You're at 92, I think is right now. You're in the 90s. You're in the low 90s. You're going to have some guys leave. You're going to see some guys declare for the NFL draft. You already saw that. Last night, Dallas Turner declared for the NFL draft within seconds. Now, I think some people are making too much of his comments. Yeah, I'm gone. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm gone. But Dallas Turner, I mean, you got to be pissed. You're 5 minutes after the game. You got to be upset. You're going to be upset that you lost. What other language are you going to use? If you've already decided you're going to go and somebody asks you what's your future plans, yeah, I'm gone. Fine. I don't have any issue with anything that you said last night about leaving for the NFL draft, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. All right, let's round this out because I've got to write that Shaz Preston news. And we got to get that up on BamaCentral's website as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and round this out. I'll come back tomorrow. We'll continue to talk about the Rose Bowl. I want to talk about deserve to be there or not. Alabama, Texas absolutely deserve to be there. I want to talk about the reaction from the Orange Bowl, the Georgia reaction. We won 63-3. You've got weird reaction on both sides of the fan base. The Florida State, we didn't give a bleep about this. The Georgia, we just won a national championship again aspect. Like, both sides, weird to me. Can't wait for the college football playoff to get rolling. But you just want to leave it with this. Congratulations to Michigan. Congratulations to Jim Harbaugh. It really stinks, but come on. Alabama in the playoff again. Everybody wants to trade places with the Crimson Tide. You all noticed all the backlash that you saw on social media last night from Alabama losing. Look, the dynasty is not dead until people stop celebrating the Alabama loss. You had people watching last night just to see Alabama lose. The dynasty will continue until that day where it reaches a Patriots point where people don't care about the New England Patriots anymore. No, you watch Alabama to see Alabama lose. So things will continue to roll. We'll continue to talk about them here on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. I'm going to sign out for the day. I'm going to go ahead and get the Shaz Preston news up on BamaCentral's website, and we'll talk to you tomorrow right here on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. Subscribe, rate, review the show, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. You can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter as well at Joe Gaither 6 and at BamaCentral.